But how far are they going to take it?
Exactly.
And as we'll find tonight when we speak with our brother Mark Harding from Canada, that essentially if people cry enough and yell enough and make a big enough stink, then the government will do something. Otherwise, if people don't complain enough about a particular incident, nothing's probably going to happen. And we want to hear from Mark later on about clarifying that. But, you know, even saying, I hate hate speech, I guess that's hate speech, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not politically correct. Huh?
Oh, well. Well, we have some more news items before we go to Brother Mark in Canada and before we take your calls. Remember, our phone number is 248-416-1300, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. And also, you'll see later on the screen, our email where we can be reached is newsandviews@abnsat.com. Well, let's go to the rest of our news items. We find that there is a new Arab incitement against Israel. It says Israelis train snakes to attack Palestinians. The Palestinian Authority, Arabs, have made a variety of accusations against Israel over the years, from distributing bubble gum that corrupts Muslim youth to attacking with trained pigs. The latest rumor making the rounds among Arabs is that Israelis are training snakes to attack innocent farmers, according to the Bethlehem-based Man News, which is closely associated with the Fatah-led Palestinian Authority. The rumor apparently began when a snake bit a woman outside a village adjacent to the Jewish city of Ariel. Local Arabs said that after the attack, the snake escaped toward Ariel. The snake's movement was taken as a sign that it had been released from Ariel by Israelis intent on harming the Arabs. The Man report also accused Ariel residents of ruining farmland in the area by dumping waste into Arab land. Palestinian villagers in the same area were the first to accuse Israelis of using trained pigs to attack Arab farmers. Several such accusations have been published by the Palestinian Authority media. The Palestinian Authority media has also accused Israel of unleashing anti-Arab super rats in Jerusalem. There is no scientific evidence, by the way, indicating that rats or snakes can be trained as attack animals or that either of the species can differentiate between Jews and Arabs. You know,
that sounds like a good movie, huh?
I tell you what, Attack of the Jewish snake or the monkey or the pig. Now, this is very interesting because before we go to the next news item, I've got to comment on this. You know, I thought at first, this is ridiculous. Where would they get such a thing? And Muslims will call in, I hope, and say, oh, that has nothing to do with Islam. Oh, that's just something, you know, you're just picking things here and there. I tell you what, that comes right out of the Quran.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. You got your Qurans? Get ready. Let's look at Surah 560. Surah 560. Let's turn for a short commentary on the news. Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah 5, verse 60. It might be a verse or two off in your Quran, but you will find it. It might be 63 or 61, but it's 60 in this Quran. It says, say, shall I point out to you, now this is talking about Banu Israel, talking about the Jews. This is Allah speaking to Muhammad through the angel Gabriel, at least according to Muslims. So, say, shall I point out to you something much worse than this? By the treatment it received from Allah, those who incurred the curse of Allah and His wrath, those of whom some He transformed into apes and swine. Those who worshipped evil. These are many times worse in rank and far more astray from the even path. So we see around the Muslim world, they always talk about Jews as apes, as pigs, and monkeys. Well, I don't understand the snake part, except the snake, you know, it talks about the shaitan, Satan. Yeah. So maybe that's one thing. And of course, Khomeini always calls America the great Satan and Israel the little Satan, right? But then we see the pig part, the trained attack killer pigs. At first I thought, boy, these Muslims really are crazy. But now I see a method to the madness. They believe the pigs can be trained to attack Arabs because they probably believe that those pigs were actually Jews that were transformed into pigs. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, Absolutely.
I tell you what. Islam, the scientific religion. Let's go back to the news. All right, our next news item is about a famous soccer coach. I think we have his picture. His name is Mourinho. Mourinho has, if we have that picture, let's show it now. There he is with one of his famous soccer players, a Muslim from Ghana. His midfielder named Sully Montari. Thank you for showing that. We find that this soccer coach, who's very famous, widely acclaimed, has now received death threats from Muslims in different parts of the world. What is his crime that is worthy of death? Well, let's take a read from the latest news. This is just from a few days back. It says, football boss, now I'm reading an article, I'm quoting, an article by Nigel Pawley in the UK daily newspaper. Football boss Jose Mourinho is living in fear after Muslim nuts, that's what he said, not me, after Muslim nuts threatened to kill him. Why did he deserve to die? Well, let's see. He is a target for Islamic fundamentalists after blaming a poor display by one of his players on his fasting for Ramadan. Inter Milan boss Mourinho, known as the Special One, slammed midfielder Sully Montari. But his insulting words have angered Muslims who have branded him a fool who should shut up. Those are quotes. There have been even several death threats on some extreme websites. One fanatic calling himself Islam Wolf said, "This man is a fool. He should be cut down." Mourinho substituted the Ghana-born star who used to play for Portsmouth at a halftime 1-1 draw with Bari. Now listen to what he said that was so terrible, that's worthy of death according to Muslims. He said concerning his player Montari, he was lacking energy. This is worthy of death according to Muslims. During the month-long Ramadan fast, Muslims do not eat or drink between dawn and dusk. Mourinho explained Montari had some problems related to Ramadan. Perhaps with this heat, it's not good for him to be doing the fasting. That sounds reasonable enough. But nevertheless, and he suggested that perhaps next week he would be dropped from the weekend's Milan soccer derby. But nevertheless, the Islamic community answers and says that Mourinho could talk a little less. He should, I quote, shut up. He is a fool. And once again, quotes from Muslims concerning this famous soccer coach, he should be cut down, simply because he suggested that his Muslim soccer player might not play the game because his fasting is making it very difficult for him to play. The religion of peace. What kind of peace?
I don't know. I know when I fast, I get stronger.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, that's what the Muslims said. They said, by the way, this is good coffee.
Yes.
They said, you know, we should, he really should be playing better. So it's foolish for that man to say that this is because of the fasting. Why are they so upset? Why don't they just say, well, he's wrong. It's not because he's fasting. He just had an off day or something. But no, we're going to kill him. They're going to kill him. And we're going to talk about more. Islam is all about two things, force and fear, intimidation. And we're seeing intimidation here with the soccer player and many other things that are taking place around the world. We're going to look at those right now. Hey, we've got a picture of the three of the terrorists, Muslim terrorists, who tried to blow up unsuccessfully intercontinental flights from London to the United States. You know, you can't take a drink onto a plane. These three beauties are the ones that you have to thank for that. Boy, I tell you what, they don't look too happy. Well, anyways, there they are. Those were the guys. Those were the guys that tried to blow up British and American flights between England and the United States by carrying on liquids, a new way to blow up and to destroy. Islam is always finding new ways to commit terrorist attacks, and because of them, we now can't take liquids into our planes. Well, it just so happens that finally they have been found guilty after several years of courts, judicial process in England. They've been found guilty. But you know what they said when they were caught red-handed? Their defense was this. The men told the court that they had just been planning a political stunt, including some small explosions only intended to frighten people at airports.
Why?
Brothers, sisters, Muslims, Americans, people who are listening, Islam has an agenda. And if you're not a Muslim, you either need to be completely aware that you are in their crosshairs. You need to get up. You need to be ready to fight the spiritual war. Islam comes at us with a physical sword, even as Muhammad was the prophet of the sword, even as the Saudi Arabian flag has on it, La ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, and it has a sword, which means very clearly, you either accept Islam or you accept the sword. But we as Christians do not fight with a physical sword. We've been given a different kind of armor. We've been given the sword of the Spirit,
Hallelujah.
which is the Word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit. And I want you to know, if you're not a Muslim and you're not a Christian, you need to be ready, because Islam is taking over Europe, is making inroads into the United States of America and all over the world. Their ultimate goal, even as Omar Ahmed said, the head of CARE, the Council of American Islamic Relations, even though he denies it today, the reporter who reported what he said very clearly and has never swerved from her case, he said, and this is a paraphrase of the quote, Islam is not in America to become equal with any religion, but to become dominant. And that Sharia law should be the highest law in the land of the United States of America. And that's coming from a political lobbyist group, CARE, Council of American Islamic Relations. Well, we have a few more news articles before we go to a break. Bring on Brother Mark Harding and open up the line for calls. We have some more. Now we have a picture of a terrorist. He's a Muslim terrorist. I have to make that point, you know, because Muslims say there's other terrorists. Well, this is the Muslim terrorist. Al-Qaeda-linked American terrorist unveiled as charges await him in the United States. Where is this terrorist from? Afghanistan? Pakistan? Hamas? Hezbollah? No. Mobile, Alabama.
You're kidding me.
I tell you what, once again, here we have a picture, if we'll put that up on the screen, of Abu Mansur al-Ameriki. Now, what does it mean, al-Ameriki? He's American.
Yeah.
He's American. Here we go. Once again, an American converts to Islam. What does he do? Does he go around teaching that Islam is a peaceful religion? Actually, he did in the beginning, but now, as you can see, he is one of the leaders of the terrorist movement of the Islamic extremist group Al-Shabaab in Somalia to overtake Somalia with Islamic extremist views. Let me read some of this article. A week after the 9/11 attacks, a young Muslim, that's talking about this individual, at the University of South Alabama told the school's newspaper it was difficult to believe that a Muslim could have done this. Here's the guy who's became a Muslim and is now a terrorist, but when he was in America and 9/11 took place as a Muslim in college, because we all say these Muslims in America are peaceful people. Look, they don't accept the terrorists. They don't accept Osama bin Laden. And this Muslim, who you think was peaceful, he said, oh, I can't believe that a Muslim would do this. And now he's doing exactly the same thing in Somalia and around the world. Now, 8 years later, he is professing to launch attacks himself and calling on others to join the fight as terror-related charges await him at home in Alabama. Abu Mansur al-Ameriki, or the American, has become one of the most recognizable and outspoken voices for terrorist propaganda. This is a good American boy, Southerner, Alabama. Tell you what. He has been in war-torn Somalia for several years, fighting the secular government there with a group known as Al-Shabaab, which has ties to Al-Qaeda and was labeled a terrorist organization by the U.S. government